All right, so thank you, everyone. Glad you could make it. This is our first meeting. Hopefully it's going to be something that give you all something to think about and give you some ideas for what we can do next. This is my first time leading a meetup, so I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to feedback. Please let me know of anything we could do differently to make this more of a success. So just before we really move on, since we're the first one, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page for every cloud. I know we will work with other platforms and do other things as well, but for the purpose of this meeting, we're GCP, and constructive criticism or comparisons are great, but we're not going to worry about where AWS is better or Azure is better. This is all focused on Google Cloud. As I just said, I'm open to anything that you think we should be doing differently. If there's any suggestions for things we could talk about, I'm all ears. I don't have a set agenda, and it's how deep we go in a particular meeting or how shallow and broad we go is something I think we're going to have to see how we do. I'm going to try and keep everything open. Discussions. I'll be doing polls, and here I'll be passing on some of that responsibility to some of you, I hope. So I'm hoping we'll find people here who really want to engage in questions, concerns about any of that?
No.
Nope. Great. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that one and actually go into the real thing here. Hey, Mark.
How are you?
All right. So today's topic is Introduction to Serverless. This is a broad and or deep, so I'm kind of skimming over a lot of things. So I hope I can get to a demonstration of just a very simple app you can do purely by using Cloud Functions. And we use this as a gauge or whatever we want to do next time, right? So give me any, I'm open to feedback, like I said. Final thing. I'm Matthew. I'm the Google Cloud Platform at Neudesic. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I want to encourage more and more people to use Google Cloud because it's my job. But also as I said to Dan earlier, I'm looking to hear what other people are actually doing with Google Cloud. Because if you're doing it, it probably means that one of my do that soon. So it gives me an idea of how I should train our consultants to be ready to be in the field and do whatever. Okay. So first off, what is serverless? Right? There's probably 1,000 definitions of it, and depending on the week, could be one thing or the next. So I just chose to look at a couple of different. Hi, please. Joy. No problem. No problem. Glad you could make it. Just started. So these are the definitions I've pulled. Come up with my own background. So once upon a time, serverless was anything as a service, right? We thought of if you were doing GitHub, that was a serverless instance. If you were doing Circle CI, for example, that could be considered serverless. And that seems to be the first definition that came up when I was doing a Google search, was about someone talking about exactly as a service platforms. And that was around 2012. Now, after that, we start getting to the back end of the service. Have any of you ever used PaaS or Firebase in applications? I know you have. Okay. So that whole idea of a back end as a service, you don't worry about anything. You just hook into this magic box. It's pretty glorious when it works well, right? But it does come with its own set of restrictions. But it is serverless in that you're not actually managing any servers. Right through to what we consider serverless now. I think by and large, everyone's agreed that serverless means either containers that are stateless or functions that are ephemeral that can be created and destroyed very quickly, and that we're no longer paying for things by the hour or minute or second. We're talking about sub-seconds and invocations quite often for the charging rates. So as an example, just something you'll be familiar with. If we were to put together a very simple application right now using VMs, say on Google Compute Engine, you'd throw your application in the middle, stick it to a day, and put a load balancer. Right now, you might script it, you might put it in a deployment manager template, but sooner or later you're doing all of these. And that's not exactly serverless. Oh, I just went through most of the pros and cons right there. So, but it's something we're all familiar with, and it's something we know the benefits and the downfalls of, right? I mean, the downfalls are quite, you still need a sysops team that are managing those VMs. People need to take care of them, and that's all work that's taken away from what you're trying to achieve with your business. We go to PaaS, and obviously it's Google, so I'm using App Engine here. Right now with a PaaS system, you're still writing code, obviously, and you're still deploying it, but you're doing just the middle box there. Worried about either the Python or the Node or the Java, whatever language you're using, but you're not worried about configuring load balancers. You just, the system takes care of it for you. Have anyone used App Engine before? Okay. All right, so we got one person. Anyone used Heroku? Something like that in the past? And guys, okay. So there's been a few iterations of this over the time, but this is Google's particular one. I still think it's a great one if you're trying to do something quickly, but it's no longer cutting edge. So the good things about App Engine is it's all automatic. You write the code, you write a YAML file that tells it how to deploy that code. App Engine takes care of everything else, right? In the background, it's actually turning everything into a container and deploying it in Borg or Kubernetes, but you don't know about any of that. It's all being handled for you. The issues that are there is that it comes with some restrictions. So it's only listening on port 8080. Fancy that you can definitely split up your application as needed, but you can't do exotic inter-process communications or anything like that. Okay. And as far as languages, it is limited. So you got Node, you got Java, you got C#, but if you want to do Elixir or Neudesic, for our man in the corner here, Haskell, yeah, that's not going to go too well. Now, I did put an, you can deploy containers using App Engine, and then you've got freedom to do whatever you want. It's just not what it was originally intended for. So it's kind of a sideways route into it. So if we look at kind of set up functions as a service, which is what the rest of the hour is going to be about, you can see it looks pretty much the same. You're still splitting up your application into individual functions, but those functions are now one thing only. The infrastructure is handling how those functions get triggered. In this example, I'm using a bucket just because I do that later in a demo, but it could be a bucket or it could be an HTTP request, or it could be, there's a number of things that will trigger the event, but you're no longer a direct connection between your clients and the functions, right? In that generally getting right the way through there. Detail of what's good and what's not. They're definitely the future. I got applications that are event-driven, where you're doing data processing. As part of it. Right now, it's a little lacking. AWS Lambda's far more broad in what it can do than Cloud Functions. Cloud Functions, for example, only support Node.js right now. So if you want to write in C#, you want to write in Java, you're out of luck, unless you put Apex or something like that in there, which is probably a bad idea at this point. The other one is, there is authentication. I shouldn't put no, but there's no OAuth or user-defined authentication. It's all based on IAM roles. So exposing your functions to the public, you still need a service layer to hide that and to enforce the rules. Probably at some point, API endpoint, cloud endpoints rather, will support Cloud Functions, and then you'll have an authentication and rules engine that you can put in front of the functions to provide the same kind of security that you get with API Gateway in AWS right now.
In theory, though, you could, admittedly, you're bloating it at that point, but you're microservice, but you could, in theory, implement it yourself.
Oh, you can, yeah.
I mean, rule number one, never write your own crypto, but.
Right, so if you're using Auth0, for example, you could use Auth0 client libraries to do that. If you're using Firebase, you could do it.
Yeah.
But the emphasis is on you. You can't just outsource that.
Right.
One, whereas if you go to a PaaS solution, it's doing a lot of that for you. That's a good point. Thanks. All right. So, wow, going a little bit faster than I meant to. Sorry about that. I actually do have a quick demonstration. So we that was going on here at Neudesic a while ago, and another one that's come up. And both of them needed to be able to transcribe and translate into text format. So I took a quick look at how we could redo that using functions, and I figured that'd make a good demonstration for the first meeting as any. So let me get out of this, get some code.
Could I grab a drink?
Please do, yeah.
There's food and sodas.
Yeah. If anyone needs a bio break or anything like that, now's a great time.
Done. Convinced.
Maybe I should have hardwired this. Wi-Fi's not great. All right, so this is all on GitHub, and we can get to it later. But here is the entire code needed to do that. Actually, it's pretty crappy, isn't it? Go somewhere else.
Thank you.
No problem.
So you're saying the function is core, but it's probably
Okay. I think it's worth looking at for your future stuff, and it definitely is worth looking at. I mean, it's the way things are going. But right now, I think there's too many limitations to put business critical.
Well, yes, good.
Well, it definitely works. It's a question of whether it's the right choice
Yeah.
for what you're doing. I did not want to go into big table.
So who's the myth geek? Take the name.
Yeah, okay.
So are other ones Milton Polyglot? Or is there other person that's the British poet, right?
So, you know, Wikipedia is a dangerous thing. You go in there and start looking for a list of polyglots, and yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's see if this is any easier to read.
It's a little bit easier.
I do like the interface more than AWS.
More stream. So in this example, I'm going to walk through all the code of people in this room. But what I'm going to do here is we're just going to register a function called storage handler that reacts to events, and I'm going to hook that into a bucket event. So anytime I file in a GCP bucket, it's going to execute this code. The code itself is pretty straightforward. All it does is grab the details about the object that we're interested in. So that's going to be a WAV file in this example. It's going to look for things like, you know, what languages, and to the details using transcription service. So let me bring up that. So all this function here does is given a bucket, it passes it on to the speech API, which just in the file in the bucket. That's why I chose buckets, very easy to use. And what the parameters are that you're doing. And what it will do is it will return a promise that will eventually succeed or fail. And so let me deploy this to the cloud. So you can deploy through a staging bucket. You can deploy and do it straight from source code here. It's a little easier. Probably find. As we said, it's a beta function, so you got to use.
What about pricing on this? Is it relative to Lambda or?
Yeah, the point is, but I think you get 2 million calls for free per month from Google.
I would burn to that like tomorrow.
Well, can you give me an example of what you're doing?
Huh?
What do you?
Right now, I'm currently monitoring about 10 million monitored it, updated every day. To that,
Yeah, you.
This is being completed, that's probably no charge for that.
There is a charge, but
Yes.
yeah.
the 2 million, was that 2 million? Was that?
Yeah, I believe it's 2 million right now. That's the disadvantage of being disconnected. Now I've got to try and remember what the source.google. No.
You don't have it in the history or anything?
Nope.
No.
History's gone.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's one of the things with Cloud Console. Once you disconnect, it doesn't maintain the history.
At all.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So
The
let's
process maybe
see.
then best to shell command to shell in then. and say,
It is.
and basically
I'm
just run your
using-
commands that way.
Yeah, I'm using a Chromebook here, so you haven't got G-Cloud or anything local.
That's what you do.
Loyal to
Yes, pretty much. Actually, let me just do this. Beta functions. Yeah, cheat.
So it's a command line deploy.
It is right now. Yeah, so you can deploy from source, but right now it doesn't automatically update if you update the source. So you need to do it every time, which is a little unfortunate, but you know that's going to come just like everything else. It'll all be automated at some point.
I don't know what pricing you get for Lambda. For Lambda, we get first 1 million requests per month are free, and the first 400,000 gigabytes a second a month is free. And then after that, it's 20 cents per million requests. I'll now look up GCP.
Yeah, I tried to look at Lambda. I was afraid I was a go broke. It's like it's cheaper to have like a EC2 or something. Or
I think
That's rare.
Yeah.
Somebody, yeah, if you're
if it's
heavy on
constantly
queries,
running,
then you might as well be running something continuously.
Right.
Free. How much you want?
actually, I can think of a couple projects that I could play around with this.
You get $300 to start to use
Sweet.
to start and use over 12 months.
Nice.
After that, there's no pricing
for functions,
for functions. You got the
it's
price.
first 2 million is free, then beyond 2 million is 40 cents per million.
This would be a
It's
start
40
on
cents
my
per
Google
million?
Function.
That's for the invocations, but then
Yeah.
for the actual gigabytes and stuff like that, it's
Some of the other developers.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm thinking of like having fun with this, like maybe
So-
build something kind of like a little browser plugin that logs
Mm-hmm.
every site that you browse and allow you to search it. Because like the history on the browser sucks big time. Because you can't like search your history. Maybe just add a plugin and then just log the heck out of it, and then maybe use a Google function to process to store all that, right? Is there a data?
Multiple ones. I'm using something called Data Store here, which is just a very simple NoSQL. Yeah.
And on the front end, is there something like a API proxy or something?
Not though. You do health. This is one of the reasons why it's definitely a beta.
Okay, that won't work. But you need like
There's
some
no
kind
AP
of REST access.
Yeah, you sooner or later, or endpoints rather, will be implemented and fronting this. But until then, yes, beta. We're looking at it as something for the future rather than something we're bringing to clients right now.